Welcome back. You're watching WTV's News Review. And earlier on, we were discussing matters ICC, matters cheating exams, and of course, we are waiting your feedback on our SMS line 20058. And moving on, October is Cancer Month, and some of the study that has been revealed is that sausage and bacon cause cancer. A UN agency has revealed. Cancer is one of the leading causes of death in Kenya. Apparently, 70 people die every day. And Zawadi, I don't know what you feel about this whole situation. Is the government doing enough, considering facilities we hear there's so many queues, people waiting to be attended to, people are told come back in April, and you're still suffering. You have no medication, you have nothing. What do you think about the situation?
I think cancer is majorly a disease, a behavioral disease, and behavior I mean how you eat, how you carry yourself, just your generally lifestyle. About your lifestyle.
Yes.
Your lifestyle, and it's so shocking. Especially, I know there's a very huge culture in Kenya about nyama choma.
Oh yeah.
And now it turns out that could be at least 50,000 people die every year on cancer-related complications that have to do with their consumption of red meat.
Red meat, yeah.
And that is very, very serious, because then it basically means the only way to stay safe is have white meat.
Yeah.
White meat. Now we're talking about rabbit meat, chicken.
Fish.
You can do fish.
But we're also still not sure about this meat, because they also say processed meat.
Yes, processed meat. That's when issues like sausages come in. In fact,
yes.
I think I'll just go back to it. We have the meat that is salted, cured, fermented, or smoked. That is where the danger is. Wow. Salted, cured, fermented, or smoked. And we have hot dogs, sausages, corned beef, dried meat like beef jerky, or South African biltong, canned meat, or also meat-based sauces.
Yeah.
So basically, there is no. It's not safe all the way, and that means, of course, we can't do without red meat for those who love red meat.
Yeah.
But then it has to do with what content or how much of that red meat do you take.
Yeah.
That means you need to take a little, just reduce the content, your consumption.
Yeah, your consumption. That, globally about 8 million people succumb to cancer, and a number that is higher than HIV, TB, and malaria combined. Can you believe that? As in, cancer has become now the killer disease, and we're seeing here there's at the coast, at least something is being done. Every Thursday, the Coast Hospice hosts a forum for survivors to share their experiences and motivate each other to live life to the fullest, despite the disease and its challenges. So it's also good to look at the brighter side of those who have actually survived the disease. And, it should be hope for those who are still suffering. And I don't know if you have ever been to Kenyatta National Hospital. There's a section for these kids who are so young, they have no idea, and then they're suffering from cancer. But I believe something can still be done to reduce the number, in terms of information, in terms of facilities. Yeah, I know we don't have much equipment right now in the country, but I believe there are so many initiatives going on to raise money as well, to bring in more equipment here, because every time someone is sick, they have to fly out to India, they have to go for all this. It's quite an expensive thing. At least the HIV was controlled, at least we have the ARVs,
antiretroviral,
which are at least helping people. We've seen the government do a good thing about that. There should also be something, done about cancer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe just before you wind up the discussion on cancer, some tips for our viewers. that indeed red meat could be a health risk. And there is a study by researchers from Harvard Medical School that indicates a diet high in red meat increases the risk of deaths from cancer and heart problems. And we are looking at processed meat, for example, daily serving of an equivalent of 2 slices of bacon or 1 hot dog increases risk of dying from heart disease by 21%.
Goodness.
And from cancer by 16%. And therefore, some mitigation, you should cutting an amount to about 42 grams a day, which is equivalent to one large steak of meat a week, could prevent almost 1 in 10 early deaths in men and 1 in 13 in women. So indeed, it's a lifestyle issue, and we also need to exercise a lot, because most of what happens, especially as far as heart diseases are concerned, you consume a lot of red meat, you take in a lot of fats, and then there's so much cholesterol in your system. And what happens as you age, you get to a point where we have it forms on the arteries some sort of clot. And when that clot comes in, that is what ruptures. That is what causes, I think, in the long run, heart complications, heart attack, or heart diseases. So it could rupture, and if it ruptures, too bad. You cannot survive. And so, in order to avoid those clots, because as your heart pumps, we have those arteries that take blood to and from the heart. So if you have high cholesterol content, for example, then that means those deposits are so many along those arteries, and they sort of compress the passage of blood and air in and out of the heart. So as much as you continue to compress that space, then that means you start having health problems, because you may not breathe well, your heart may not get enough oxygen as it should, because of certain constraints of the arteries. So basically, the only way out is just to live a healthy life, exercise a lot if you can. You can change your diet, do kienyeji vegetables.
That's true.
It helps.
Yes. As Zawadi has said, the next time you're taking something to eat, you might want to look at what it contains, if it has a lot of cholesterol, to avoid some of these lifestyle diseases. And it will change you, it will change someone else's life. Now, Zawadi, moving on, I know you're very passionate about matters business.
And talking of business, I just saw a report from one of the dailies on unclaimed property assets. There is an institution which is basically a government institution or parastatal under the National Treasury, called the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. That was just created the other day, and its mandate is really to take stock, to regulate the industry. We have so many unclaimed assets across Kenya, and when you talk about unclaimed assets, we are really referring to investments. It could be insurance cover. For example, if you took a life cover as Diana, and then you took an education cover, for example, maybe for your siblings or for your children, and then later on, before they are of age, or maybe you did not disclose this information to your next of kin, and God forbid you pass on, what happens? That money stays unclaimed, because probably no one has any idea how to trace the real owners. And sometimes even the institution do not know if this person is alive or they are dead, because some people make advance payments. Someone could do a check that covers contributions that could go for 5 years, and then possibly you've just done that check, you've submitted it, and then you pass on. So the institution knows this is our member. After 5 years, they need some more payment, they can't get hold of you, and they can't get hold of anyone that knows you well.
Yes.
So basically, that is what we refer to as unclaimed assets, and they are mostly in property. They could be in insurance companies. It could be in banks. Probably you had a bank account that had some savings, and then when you pass on, there is no one that it can be given to.
Yeah.
So really,
It's
there
a
is an
good thing.
authority.
Yeah.
Very. In fact, the organization is the first in Africa, which is
Wow.
a very commendable job for government,
Yes.
because there's not been an authority or a regulatory framework anywhere on the continent as far as unclaimed assets are concerned.
Well, that's a good thing, considering we've seen a lot of cases of, you know, people who can't claim their property, who can't claim their things, and they end up losing, or other people, you know, claim it or rob of them. So I guess it's a very good thing for Kenya. Is there anything else?
Yeah,
concerning
I think
business?
maybe you can just tell our viewers, possibly, you know, you could have had a brother or a relative who was extremely rich or
Yes.
wealthy,
Yes.
if I may. But then after their death, no one or even their lawyers don't seem to get in touch with you. And possibly you get this, some of these families are suffering, children are suffering, there was no trust fund.
Yes.
Just for the benefit of our viewers,
Yes.
where the riches await, where there is high stakes, just so you know, we have bank and SACCO savings, we have checks, money orders, and claimed insurance policies, utility service deposits, dissolved businesses, assets, and paid wages, assets held in deposit boxes, court and fiduciary held assets, as well as ownership interests of deceased persons in private companies and securities in listed and private companies. So it's always good to let know at least someone you can trust about where you're putting your money or where you're making investment.
That's true.
So that as we transition in life, as you move to the next world, your efforts or your work just doesn't go down the drain.
And you have a show called Business Foresight.
And in fact, tonight, Wednesday, we'll be having a very detailed coverage of unclaimed assets. We have what we call the Unclaimed Property Assets Register, which is the organization that takes stock of all these assets across the board. And we are talking to the Chief Executive Officer there. His name is John Gige. We are talking to the manager in charge of the Unclaimed Financial Assets line at the authority, and that is John Mwangi, so that we can actually get details of what really it means to have unclaimed assets and how to go about it. And you can catch that show on WTV at 8:30 p.m. Wednesday tonight.
Yes.
And of course, if you will miss tomorrow morning, there is a repeat, and also Sunday at 4 o'clock.
All right. Well, that has been News Review. We'll catch you tomorrow. Have a nice day.